Sam, it's really nice to have you today. We're super excited.
My pleasure.
To have you as a guest. Thank you, first of all. And we love to start with an awkward introduction here. Can you tell us who you are and what you do?
Yeah, I'm Sam Lake. I work on video games. My background is in writing, so I see myself as a storyteller first and foremost. But these days at Remedy I am creative director, so I both write and direct, and sometimes act just a tiny bit as well.
Thank you. The other thing we love to do here is start with a bit of an origin story. Can you tell us how your career started? And yeah, just elaborate a little bit on that.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I have always loved stories, and reading was my big passion growing up, but also playing games, all kinds of games. Commodore 64 was my first gaming machine, and I really fell in love with role-playing games, like Ultima series. And through that, I discovered tabletop role-playing games, and started being a game master and creating worlds and adventures and writing for that quite a bit. So I really saw myself as, you know, I wanted to write, I wanted to be a novelist. And I went to Helsinki University to study the English language and literature, because even though growing up in Finland and Finnish being my native language, more and more I discovered that everything that I was consuming, you know, my passion was in English. Be it the fantasy books or science fiction books or comic books or role-playing games, everything in English. So somehow it felt natural to me to write in English as well. So I studied the English language and literature at the university. And then while doing that, Remedy was founded. And one of my childhood friends, Petri Järvilehto, was one of the founders, and he was also playing role-playing games with me. So when they were making Remedy's first game, Death Rally, he came to me, Sam, you're right, we need somebody to write the text for this game. And that's next year is going to be 30 years at Remedy.
Amazing. So it was a very sort of natural way for you to enter that world. You wanted to tell stories, but you weren't particularly aiming to get into a gaming studio per se, right? It was more of that opportunity that came through your friend.
Yeah, for me, it was not a plan to work on games. Like I really wanted to write seriously, and then the opportunity came, and after Death Rally, I started saying that, hey, we could really tell stories with our games, and Max Payne then ended up being the first bigger game at Remedy, and I just felt that, well, nobody is really even trying to tell a deeper story in the context of an action game, but I felt that that would be possible, and just as long as we figure out how to tell the story, and I have always loved comic books, and because back then, like this is mid-90s, when Max Payne started out, cutscenes in games were really clumsy, and so I felt like that, look, we could do comic book inside the game, and that would already be a much more sophisticated storytelling method. And if we add kind of an voiceovers in an audio play style, then we can do a lot with that. And yeah, that I felt just has been the path that started from Max Payne, but has been gone through all the Remedy games, just finding ways on how to push forward storytelling in action adventure games and action games. That turned into my mission in a way.
And I guess that's really what made Max Payne such a unique action game back then, right? This whole sort of story backdrop and the way that the story was told.
I mean, Max Payne, I feel, had two things going for it, and one was of course bullet time, the coolness of the gameplay. But then the other thing for sure was the story and storytelling and the stylization around it. That to me like was something that or is something that people, you know, remember and keep talking about. The fact that with this kind of a method and the internal monologue of the main character, you really could go into his mind and learn to understand who he is as a character.
Absolutely. And what made you, I guess, stay in that environment? And obviously, you know, video games are a fantastic way to tell a story. And I'd love to hear more about how did that evolve in the 28 years, you know, that you've been doing this, and why you sort of stayed in that lane. What made you stay?
I think that the interesting thing about games is that they keep evolving. Yeah, just the very fact that it's so closely tied to the technology, and the technology keeps on advancing quite fast. With that, it really is when you do 3 to 5 years on a big gaming project, when you come out of it, suddenly the landscape has changed, and for the next game, suddenly things that were not at all possible to even consider are now possible for the next one. So it has never felt boring in the sense of like, okay, we know this, now we are just repeating the same thing. So there is a lot of room for innovation and a lot of room for ambition in the sense of like, we can push this further, or we discovered something here, now we understand it, how to take it to the next level. And that's what makes games, working on games, so interesting. And I feel that through the whole kind of this path, you can see certain elements repeating through all the Remedy games, through Alan Wake and Quantum Break and Control, and now Alan Wake 2. But at the same time, more and more to me, games as a storytelling medium is an art form where all the other existing, more established art forms can play a role. You can bring them all in because they are all part of our world, and we create this virtual world of the game. So all of this can, you know, these days with Alan Wake 2, we have a lot of live action material. We you know, Alan Wake is a writer, so we have pages of his prose, we have poetry, we have art photography, because Alice Wake, his wife, is a photographer, and we have music, collaborating with many musicians to create custom songs with lyrics that are tied to the story, and even a musical sequence. So it just feels like we can use all of this and out of this kind of like seamlessly create this experience.
And I want to go back to that actual musical sequence, because I think it's one of the most iconic things that ever happened in a video game, and I felt it was a very unique moment. How did that come about? How did the idea come to you?
The musical has been a long time coming. I remember doing a talk in Helsinki at Slush Music. I think it was 2016, and we did this presentation with Petri Alanko, who is our musician, like composing our soundtracks, and we talked about music in our games, and I ended with saying maybe one day we could do a musical as part of the game, because that idea had been in my mind for a long time, and I love musicals. Yeah, I mean, in the first Alan Wake that came out 2010, we had this fictional in-world band, you know, heavy metal band called Old Gods of Asgard, and behind it is an actual band called Poets of the Fall, and we created this big spectacle action sequence where there is a stage in the middle of a field and pyrotechnics and this song is playing and you are having this massive fight while it's happening. And that was so positively received as an element, and I just felt like, okay, this is the right way to go. We'll do more, like we'll discover more. And then in Control, we already had another old Gods of Asgard song, and this one created in a dynamic way. And there is this shifting supernatural maze that you need to navigate through while this music is playing. But it's dynamic, so depending on how you progress or where you go, there are different parts of the song that are playing, like extra guitar solos and everything. And that was like, okay, this is another step. And I was trying to get a musical sequence, this musical dream sequence into Control as well. That was cut as you know, scoped down often happens. But then I was like, the next one in Alan Wake 2, we're gonna do it. And it actually fit really, really well into Alan Wake. And the song is about his life. We go through different phases of his life, and the premise is a late night talk show where they have kind of like set up this thing, but then it turns into a crazy dream sequence, and you're running through it while the song is progressing, and kind of a big screens of music video are progressing as you go.
I think it's a truly amazing sequence. If anything, I think I've progressed really slowly through the sequence because I was more interested in like looking at what was going on.
People really embraced it and went crazy about it. There are so many reaction videos about people being like blown away by it. And then like a year ago at the Game Awards, we actually got to perform the song live on stage, which was pretty exceptional.
Yeah, it's a fantastic moment. I mean, obviously Alan Wake 2 is a huge success for Remedy and for you. How did you feel about that when it was out in the wild and then it sort of blew up?
It always like you are so close to these things and you spend so much time and effort on them. So there are always mixed feelings going through. Like it's hard. It's a struggle. There are obstacles in the way you need to navigate. And at the same time, I felt that Alan Wake 2 for me, because I had been trying to get it going ever since the first game, which came out 2010. So sequel came out 13 years later. So I had so much invested kind of passion for this project. It made it wonderful because I felt that I could put in more of my soul in a way than in any other previous project. But at the same time, kind of when there were obstacles, it was even harder. It's always this mixed thing of like, you're feeling exhausted, but then there is this like wave of positivity coming at you. But I had to, like earlier this year, I had to take a bit of a sabbatical to just kind of like, sleep. And yeah.
Of course. And I mean, you write pretty complex stories and your games are really quite ambitious as a studio as well. How do you balance that versus obviously, commercial expectations?
Sure.
And I'm sure that must be a bit of a tension to be able to, marry both.
It is always this balancing act between let's say art and commercial entertainment, and games are big projects, expensive projects, so it's really understandable that yes, the entertainment side needs to be taken into account for sure. My screenwriting teacher, when I was in school, always said that our duty is to hide the art so that it kind of passes under the radar. And that's how I think about it as well. Alan Wake 2 had a lot of it. I feel like I feel very fortunate and happy that we could get so much, crazy, strange, new experimental ideas in. But there was a lot of really, a lot of effort put in to make it approachable and entertaining. And as an example, we wanted to bring in another playable character, the FBI agent Saga Anderson, so that we have a point of view character who doesn't know anything about the complexities of established Alan Wake lore, somebody, a newcomer into the world, because we knew that after 13 years, there are a lot of players who either don't remember the first game or have never played it. So we needed a kind of a new hero character to come in and take you in and then start discovering these layers. So there was a lot of thinking to make it approachable.
And I think it was very successful in actually marrying those worlds. So that's great. I mean, I love that kind of story. I think it's a fantastic game. So it's amazing to see that happening. What would you say are your main influences? And it's a very general question. And you can focus on whatever you feel like talking today, but it's like, what has influenced you as a writer and as a creative throughout your career?
Yeah, there are a lot of different influences, of course. Like it piles up into this soup, and you use it, and you keep on using it. Like I find more and more, there are always new elements coming in, almost like spices, but something fundamental happens when you are in your teens or as a young adult. That's when you are discovering things that really affect you deeply and leave a mark. And I feel that I'm still kind of reaching back to those things and using them. Like with Alan Wake franchise, especially I feel it's David Lynch's work. Twin Peaks being one for sure. It's a lot of different books, like Bret Easton Ellis's writing is one, but many others as well. Like something that I love postmodern writing, like Thomas Pynchon. I discovered at university studying literature, and I kind of like really excited because postmodern writing to me feels like a game. It's especially for a student studying literature and writing essays. It's you are. It's almost like the writer is setting you up for a game, like how to understand this, and there are hidden meanings, and it's playful, and there is a meta layer in it, and you are analyzing and breaking it down and coming up with a theory. And that, to me, in writing, especially for games in an interactive form, is a big part of it. Like especially in Control, most of the storytelling is done with case files you are finding in the Federal Bureau of Control building, and it's fragmented, and there are even conflicting theories about the strange supernatural forces that they are exploring and experimenting on. And then you, as a player, almost like a game, you are thinking about it and you are coming up with a theory, kind of piecing it together, but there are missing pieces, so you need to kind of like come up with your own ideas. And so that to me feels like part of the postmodern idea, and even more than in Alan Wake, especially, there is this meta layer of commentary added to it, like you find Sam Lake or a couple of different Sam Lakes in the story as well. So there is this meta commentary, and then there is this fragmented storytelling, and yeah, I mean, it's layered for sure.
And there's a lot of articles about that, a lot of videos actually fan made. A lot of people are sort of posting their own,
which I love.
Do you look at that?
I mean, I haven't seen nearly all of them, but some, and I'm so happy because, like, to me, when I'm reading, it is an exercise of thinking, and I love things where I'm watching a film or reading a book that make me think or stay with me, afterwards, that I think about it. So achieving something like that as part of the game story, where people are engaged actively, not just with the mechanical gameplay part, but actually like actively thinking about it and analyzing the lore and trying to understand it and coming up with their own theories. I love it. Yeah, I'm really grateful for the fans who are so engaged with it.
I think that was really my first impulse when I finished the game, to be honest. I have to read about it to try to make sense of it, but I think it's really fascinating. Now, I just wanted to talk a little bit to finish about what's next. Is there, you feel, a story that you haven't told yet? Is there anything that you can tell us about, what's coming for you? Is there anything, an unfulfilled dream or anything that you feel like you have yet to do?
I mean, Remedy has grown through the years. We are almost 400 people, and there are multiple projects going on that all have been announced. Thinking about beyond that, like the next one, I don't have a feeling at all that this would be it. I definitely want to do more and all kinds of ideas, and often it kind of like builds from the previous one. But also, what I'm really excited that we now have a contract to collaborate with Annapurna Pictures about potentially looking into film and television for the whole Remedy Connected Universe, which is Control, Alan Wake. Early days, very early talks about it, but I would absolutely love to do something ambitious and interesting, like, with the games, but also with film and television. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a great idea, and I'm sure a lot of people are really excited about that. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was fascinating.
Thank you.